Mike, you guys have had really, really good performances and haven't been able to carry those through. What were some of the things maybe you can attribute that inconsistency to last month or so?
Yeah, there's no doubt that's something that we're focusing on, and that's something that we are working on. The thing about this game is it's a game of inches. You see that when we go against our offense sometimes, maybe in spring ball, where how does one group win one day and the other group win the other? Well, if you let up just a little bit, and there's no doubt our guys poured their hearts and soul into, for example, Oregon or Penn State and played really, really well and didn't perform to that level in some other games. And what you really recognize is it doesn't matter who the opponent is. If you relax in your preparation, your intensity, your passion, even the slightest, there's no margin for error. There's so much parity.
Mark there? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you've answered questions about Allegrio before, but in terms of production, I think he's become maybe your second, third leading tackler, even though he hasn't gotten the snaps that other guys have gotten. I guess I'm wondering what is he doing that's putting him in position to make so many plays that maybe you weren't getting previously?
What he's really done is he's demonstrated to us over the course of time that he can maintain passion and intensity. Obviously, he's talented, can run, has some length, size, et cetera, but he's really shown the ability to play 60 minutes with that type of intensity. He's also a guy that celebrates out there. I mean, I've told him he's leading the team in celebrations the last 2 weeks, even when he's not the one making the plays, and that type of stuff is contagious too. We need that, and I know our whole staff is appreciative of the energy he brings out there, and obviously he's getting the football. You can look at the stats and know that, but it's more, it's the love in the game of football, and you can feel it and you can see it, and there's no stress, and too many people play with burdens weighing them down, and he just lets it loose and people can feel it.
Like you said, you spent last offseason trying to get more length and athleticism to your defense. Do you feel like that's something you need more of moving forward, or what do you think is the missing piece here to generate some more?
You always want more length and athleticism, there's no doubt about that. But also, regardless of who the guys you have are, it's continuing to get them to play at their best, which means playing with confidence. It means trusting and believing in themselves and their teammates. It means responding to adversity better. So yeah, you want to always get bigger, faster, stronger, longer. But we need to do a better job of responding to adversity, and when we're the ones that get punched, it's more about punching back than survival mode. And I think we'll punch back this week. It's a big one.
Kind of piggybacking off of that, just pass rush has been kind of one of those up and down things throughout the year. It's just been some games you're able to generate more. Just schematically, do you think something has to change or how you go about it, or do you just need guys to execute better?
I think if you look at the third down situations, you'll notice there is quite a bit of pressure, but we're also able to play some games and get more creative, and it's not just a four-man rush. I think that we need to get better in terms of our pass rush conversion when it's a normal down and distance, and it's 1st and 10 or it's 2nd and 5, and it could be run or it could be pass, and you can't just pin your ears back and sprint upfield. That transition is something that we need to continue to work on so we can get better pressure on all downs and distances. So we need to really create some negative plays on base down and distances so we can be more often in the longer yardages where we can use the stunts, games, blitzes that have affected the quarterback.
Mike, at this point, with James Thompson getting some snaps last week, one, how do you envision maybe he'll be able to, he can help, and two, what's kind of, stood back in his comeback in terms of, do you feel he's, even though he's back, he's still maybe even limited a little bit or not?
The training staff's deciding what's safe and the number of reps and things like that. James is on the same page with that. There, I think, was some question marks in his mind in terms of, how strong is he? How well is he going to be able to disengage blocks? How much knockback can he have? How is he going to be able to play with things being stabilized a little bit in terms of what he's wearing equipment-wise. And so it's good to get those initial reps and build your confidence and realize, okay, I'm all right. Of course, as coaches, we want him to be at his best every snap. We don't want to gradually work into it, but in reality, sometimes it takes that. So the hope is that his confidence has grown because you realize, okay, I'm all right.
Over here, Chief.
With Hunter out against Nebraska, just how did Austin play in his role, but also what just changed within the secondary or the defense with Hunter out, and how do you believe the players reacted?
So, yeah, it hurts not having a team leader out there and also a very, very productive player. I think that the comfortability level of that position is such a high level for Hunter. He can be a little bit more aggressive than maybe Austin was. I know if Austin was in that exact same position again after watching a week of film, be a lot more comfortable and a lot more aggressive as opposed to trying to avoid giving up big ones. And that's where Hunter's such a difference maker, and that's why he's so productive. He understands exactly what his role is. He can anticipate, he can realize, you know, maybe he's responsible for something deep, but there's no threat of it right now. Bam, he's out of there. Where, you know, Austin's been playing the nickel position a little bit more often and rotating there, and there's not quite as many reps. So not quite as quick to trigger as Hunter, but not many people are.
When you watch Minnesota offensively, what are the areas where you think they can stress you and that you need to perhaps get better at in a game like this?
They may not pass the ball one time. Fick might have said that already, you know, so you obviously have to stop the run. They have a big old offensive line, a couple dudes that are projected to be high round draft choices, 2 tailbacks that I think are really good players, big strong guys at tight end. But then they also got a receiver that's a difference maker and a pretty solid receiving core overall. So I think they're asking and doing a little bit more on offense with the quarterback they have right now. And he does a good job of throwing some of the isolations when they can get Jackson isolated, and he can throw those things on a dart. It's a lot different than we saw last week. It was a little more of anticipation and putting the ball out there to the open spaces and let the guys run to it. And this week it's a lot more throwing absolute darts. Sometimes it looks like as hard as you can, but obviously the receiving core can handle it. But it's going to start with stopping the run. And I think that's been emphasized, and I truly believe and hope our guys are embracing that.
Coach, you mentioned Austin Brown. You guys have operated out of the nickel kind of quite a bit this year. Kind of what are the benefits, you know, of operating out of the nickel for as much as you guys do? And do you think that you guys could have different shifts to involve more down linemen in a game like this where they might have, you know, a good amount of success trying to run the football?
Like I said, you've got to stop the run. There's no doubt about that. We've played almost exclusively nickel when we're going against 3 wide receivers on the field. When there's only 2 wide receivers on the field, we've put a group of guys on the field that we call heavy nickel about, I'm gonna guesstimate, a third of the time, and we put the extra defensive linemen with both outside backers on the field about 2/3 of the time, which is getting a little bit bigger, there's no doubt about it. But at this point of the year, man, it's about getting your healthiest, most physical, most passionate guys on the field. So personnel-wise, I promise you, we're gonna put the guys out there where we think best can stop the run.
We've made it clear the conversations this week have been solely focused on beating Minnesota and the importance of this game, but what value do you place on trying to reach a bowl game and what it can mean given where this program's at right now?
You always want to reach a bowl game. There is absolutely no doubt about that, but Fick is right, that hasn't been the discussion. Everybody recognizes the fact that another wins bowl eligibility. That doesn't need to be discussed. We know as coaches that also means, you know, another few weeks of getting better as a football team as you prepare for that. But we also know that college football is about rivalries, and this is, you know, the longest tenured Division I scholarship football rivalry in the entire country. And I talked to Hunter Wohler, I think it might have been the Alabama game, hey, it's a big game, man. How excited are everybody? I'm excited. How's this compare to the Minnesota game? He's like, oh, it's not like the Minnesota game. There's not any others that are like the Minnesota game. So I hope we have enough veterans and guys that have been through it that understand how big this is. Paul Bunyan's axe, and it is big, and that's the focus. And does bowl eligibility go along with it? Absolutely. But that's not the main thing.
Anything else here? Zach, one last one?
Going back to the personnel thing, so against Iowa, if, you know, I put 3 wide receivers out there and you're having 2 defense linemen and they're still gashing you in the run, do you make adjustments and do you want to go with 3 defense linemen there? I just wondering where your thought process is, because you guys are just matching personnel, I get that, but sometimes when things are happening pretty easily for the other team.
Absolutely. So that's where, you know, when we did get into heavy nickel, or heavy nickel involves a 3rd defensive lineman, but it still structurally looks a little bit more like a 4-down lineman look. You know, in terms of getting truly into the base personnel where you have 3 of those 300-pounders out there with both outside backers, you can do a little of that, but quite honestly, some of the adjustments is they can spread you out into 3 and 4 wide receiver, and even empty sets can get a little bit more difficult, and those are the mismatches that can happen out there. If you look at the couple games that we didn't play up to our standard, you can look at, should we just have gotten more mass on the field? And you can point to that. I think that there were a lot of times where we weren't schematically at a disadvantage. We just need to execute. We need to execute, and the difference is like this. And you've got to believe, and you've got to be able to take punches and not waver. And that's, we have great kids that we just need to continue to grow in that area.
Anything else, guys?